Welcome, Gemini, to your love reading for December of 2018. This will, a lot might be going on, especially dealing with your relationships, other people that might affect you. It really requires that you kind of give sometimes your undivided attention to your partner, because your relationship, your marriage, is like the contracts that you kind of sign, whether it's literally or sometimes silently, that you agree to, but it might not be healthy. So this becomes a big focus. So with Sagittarius, the sun being a Sagittarius, that is your ninth house. I meant your seventh house. Sorry, that's your opposite sign. So I feel that that's interesting that the sign of relationships, the seventh house, is usually relationships, dealing with other people a lot of times. But with that being said, that is your that means that sometimes Gemini might switch, go to different signs. Talk to different people, traveling, kind of not really being decisive about who they might talk to, wanting to explore, because your Sagittarius is the ninth house. And if that's your opposite sign, that's why it can be sometimes confusing, because it can give off an energy of being confused and here and there. You always think about Gemini as being a twin, so sometimes being a bit unsure and uncertain where to kind of relax and be with a certain person. So let's see, we're going to look into though what might be going on this month, especially dealing with love. All right, so messages for Gemini love for December 2018. So we have the Fool, and the Fool is often where you might be kind of just wiping the dust off, kind of letting things go. If it started to pile up too much of things that you don't like, you're trying to start over, start afresh. And this is good because it allows you to reboot. All right, you might be booting someone out, moving on, whatever it might be. This is the energy of kind of starting over for a lot of you, and maybe getting to know someone new, or trying to get to know the new you and how you might approach people in your love life. Now, let's see other energies for Gemini in love. You got the Seven of Wands, and I feel like the Taurus had this, and this is the energy of often you're not liking something. You need to stand up for it. You need to express the reasons why you don't like it, and move away from somebody. That's what I feel like you might be doing when you feel frustrated, slighted. You don't feel like something is really promised. You put it to the test, and that's often addressed in a certain matter and then having to move on or let go as you see how it's going to stand up against some kind of brunt force of you getting real with that other person. What might the person that you're dealing with, so it's either in a relationship or you're trying to get to know someone new, so a love interest, what might it be bringing towards you for December 2018? So you have the Queen of Wands, and often, now that this is someone that you're dealing with, this is another female, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, but if that person is bringing them towards you, that means that whoever you're talking to or trying to get to know, they're bringing someone else in their energy, which is meaning that they need to clear this person out or else, so that's why the Fool is showing up. I feel you have you might feel like that person is being reckless and you're not liking it too much. Now, they're not coming out in reverse. It doesn't mean like they're a nemesis, or maybe that person wants to kind of bridge the gap between both of you, where if it was a hidden kind of connection or something that's not out or known, maybe that person is still either in their energy or around them, living with them. They want to let that person know, let you know, or this is something that you could be doing. All right, so that things can be okay. But until then, the Fool is still trump over everything that might be happening. So what else might be bringing towards you, Gemini? Nine of Cups, and the Nine of Cups is joy. All right, it's feeling good about the potential for a proposal or getting to know you. And for a lot of you, I feel like some of you, now this is not to scare you or anything like that, but it's an indication that the Seven of Wands is showing up. That means that you and another person might be in that other person's energy, so it's like they are happy to have you both in some way. Now, it doesn't automatically mean that, but I feel the Nine of Cups is feeling fulfilled, or feeling like something can go right or work out between you and them. That's something that just came through. So what might your response be for Gemini? So the Emperor is in reverse. So you could feel like I just mentioned that scenario. You might feel like that's a energy that the person is trying to give off, and if that's the case, you're not liking that too much. Some of you might have some controlling issues that you need to admit to, give up on, so that you can have a healthier relationship where there's mutual understanding and some kind of growth there. With the Emperor in reverse, that is some of you dealing with a very it's like your father or your baby father. If you have children, they're not lenient, they're not able to compromise, they don't know how to put in the effort enough for you to kind of realize or believe that there can be something strong now or in the future between you and them. So sometimes they drop the ball at times. Let's see what else, what might you respond with again for Gemini. We're doing it. So we have, yes, debt. All right. Now this is the energy of sometimes where you splurge. You might go out, you might spend a whole lot. Remember, the holiday season is approaching, so you have for those of you who do celebrate Christmas, then you have New Year's, a lot of that back to back. So be careful with what you might do. Another person might be well aware that the connection could work out between you two, but when the Emperor is in reverse, two things where you try to gain control of your situation, but then you might lose control because you lose control of your ability to invest or save or put money to the side, and you let all the money that you did save and that you could have saved, you let it fall out the window. So that could often take you and put you in a setback, because the person that you're dealing with, maybe they feel like you could be ready, you're on the verge of making some changes, and then both of you can kind of come together. But if they see that you're kind of just throwing money away and not really caring or saving it a little bit, every now and then that might be an issue for some of you out there. So I feel that you have to be careful with that. All right. What might your fears be for Gemini for December 2018? Not okay. Eight of Cups in reverse, where some of you might feel that you're going to be talking to a brick wall. All right. You're going to constantly say something to someone. You're going to run around a certain issue at times. You might address it, but then you might feel like you did leave and you did move on, but you still are there. Like your spirit, your mind, your body can make a pivot, turn around, move in a different direction, but your shadow is still facing that other scenario person, which is indicating that the power that you feel like you have to turn around and really pack up and leave, it's still not the reality of the situation. So I feel like a lot of you might have a fear that you won't be able to leave someone when you know it's the end, or leave someone and put down the where you're trying to put down that kind of energy, that dead weight, and let something go so you can start new. So I feel like a lot of you might have a fear that that's not going to happen. All right. What might your advice be for Gemini? The Ten of Wands, and when this is advice, I feel like that's the energy of working. All right. It tells you to try to maintain your composure in the midst of anything else that you might be struggling with. When you feel, sometimes when you wish for something and you might get it, depending if it's being blessed with a promotion, being blessed with a relationship, something new in your life, and sometimes you might get the gift, you might get what you want. It tells you you're going to have to work hard for it. You asked for it, you got it. But if you really want something, it tells you that you're going to have to put in the effort. It can be strenuous, it can be stressful, it can be something that can be a burden at times, but ultimately I feel like if this is something that you really want or really want it, it's coming. And I feel like that's the energy of doing what you need to do to take care of things. All right. Often some of you are dealing with a marriage or a relationship that's burdensome. It tells you to deal with it. It might be tough, it might be a bit stressful to handle things, but it tells you that's the way for you to reach the the door, so that you can walk through it and then close it and leave it shut, or walk through a different one. I feel. So what is the outcome for Gemini? Then we have the Devil, and the Devil is showing up of when the Ten of Wands and the Devil comes out back to back, that's the energy of Phil being having some type of addiction, or fear that you hold on to, something that you would love. I don't feel like anybody wants to hold on to that type of energy. Some people like starting up arguments or getting into confrontation to keep something going on, keeping a spiral going on, so that they can make an excuse to stay where they are. And that's not the healthiest thing to do. So you have free will and for which you accept and which you get involved in. But I feel that devil is often showing up of either being stuck, still holding on to someone's, not making the changes that you need to, or walking around a matter. Clarify the devil for Gemini. Then we have the moon, which is still fear. That's when your anxiety is so intense that you might not even know who you are at times, because of the way that you think, the things that you say, how you think about yourself or other people. Sometimes you feel like you might sabotage yourself or the relationship in some way. When that's showing up, that's not good, because it can indicate psychological things that you might need some help with, especially if you're dealing with somebody else who might be dealing with that. My eyes jumping. But that's something that might be really important for many of you out there. All right, so let's clarify the moon for Gemini. See, the Five of Pentacles is showing up. That's another energy of being financially deprived and not really aware that things will be okay or can be okay if you were to put in enough effort and enough work to stabilize your income or stabilize your mode or whatever objectives that you might have. I feel like you can focus on these things, but you have to kind of let something go. Whoever it is that wants to connect with you, you might not feel or believe that they do, but I feel like it almost takes you to kind of really address something, drop it, and kind of move on and see what happens when the new year rolls around. That's what it seems like to me for some. And one more card for Gemini in love for December 2018. For Gemini love for December. Four of Wands in reverse. That can mean that some of you need to make a move to get away from someone that you've been married to, if it's an ex-partner, or someone that you need some space from. That's an energy where the home environment where you are is not really where you want to be. Even if you want to be there, it's not how you want it to be. That's something that needs to change. These are things that you may be aware of. All right, and right now that's almost like I'm not really ready to commit just yet, or your partner might not be ready because of the financial issues that might be showing up. But this is an energy of making sure that you save up enough to maybe move, redecorate, do what you need to do so that the home environment is much stable, or there's the respect factor where your partner's feelings and yours is acknowledged. Because if you're in the same household or under the same roof with another person that you say that you're moving on from, and if you're not doing it, that's an issue. All right, these things need to happen because boundaries need to be kind of put up and adhered to, so to speak, kind of working things through. So I feel like that might relate to some of you out there, but I feel like that's energy to kind of fix that, where you're able to share, celebrate, have a good time, communicate, hang with one another, be with one another, and maybe eventually move in with stability, maybe marriage or proposal and things like that. So that's what I feel that's showing up here. It's almost like sometimes you or your partner might put up a false impression of things being okay, and it's okay, but it's not really okay deep down. And it's almost like putting on this a presentation to let people see that things are a certain way when it's really not. So I think changes can happen. Just try to focus on those things and try not to give into a fear. Let's see, what is your what might be the fear of your love interest or partner? This is kind of extra long, 14 minutes. I won't take that long, but let's see for Gemini, fear of your partner or love interest. Okay, so some of you, it's a few, this is important. When I see this, sometimes it can mean that someone is wanting to break free from a restriction, wanting to get out of jail, wanting to get off a house arrest, not being able to be around you because of these restrictions, and often having a fear of being really seen with you, or not being able to get out of a prison of their own that they may have created. Sometimes their own insecurities and doubts that might pop up, and not being able to communicate. Clarify the Eight of Swords, or they might feel like that's with you. Some of you might be holding back and not really expressing yourself for whatever reason. Clarify the Eight. See, because two things where the Nine of Cups, that's where they're happy to kind of either be with you or see you or reconcile or something, but some of you might be holding back, so they might have the fear that you're going to stay like that in limbo. Other way around as well, that could be switched around. Clarify the Eight of Swords for Gemini. Then we have the Queen of Cups that's showing up. Queen of Cups, Pisces, Scorpio, Cancer. Then we have the Seven of Cups. To me, listen and think about this. When you sleep at night and when you think about certain things, and your intuition might be heightened, but be careful that you don't fool yourself with when you feel like somebody might be a soulmate and you feel that you can connect on some level. There needs to be action. There needs to be communication. Things that work out between you two through mutual understanding and trying to get things to go through. The fear is almost kind of dreaming about it. You're thinking about it. You're fantasizing about it. But nothing ever happens because both of you might declare that you're single, acting like you're single, acting like you're going to make moves, but nothing ever gets done because we're stuck and trapped in dreaming and fantasizing about the connection rather than making the actual changes that need to occur. So I feel like that's important. You have to be careful with doing that this month, and that's why I feel like for some of you, clearly these changes need to happen, but others of you, do not get be fooled by a fantasy. And that's I think that's why I'm gonna kind of title the video, because I feel like that's really important. That if you know something's going to work, yes, you're going to put mutual effort in. But if you've been around this scenario time and time again, year after year, and nothing is happening, be careful about it being a fantasy and not being the reality is that it is a fantasy and not a reality of something actually happening and manifesting. So be mindful about that. Not to put fear in you, but a lot of times you can have dreams about someone that you moved on from long ago, or someone that you have been making plans sometimes to connect with, but it never happens because you say, hey, we dream about each other all the time. You know, I want to get closer to them, but, you know, that's, I believe it's your mind that can create these things, that can create these illusions, your subconscious mind. And just be careful with that and knowing the difference, okay? So, much love, much light to you. This is longer than usual, like way longer. I hope the messages did help out in some way. I wish you the very best. I appreciate all the comments. I do pay attention, and I respond when I can, and I really do appreciate that. I hope you have a great month. Much love, much light to you, tons of healing vibes, and you can always go to psychicloveheals.com to schedule something personally for you. All right, so have a good one.